Was this winter in Pagosa Springs a U-Haul winter? What even is a U-Haul winter? It's a saying here in Pagosa that could have a huge impact on our local real estate market. But before we dive into it, let's look forward to what Pagosa is about to transform into in just a couple months. The powder skiing at Wolf Creek is what introduced me to Pagosa, but it's the summers that made me fall in love with this place. All right, this is Q1 2023 recap, where Team N Squared attempts to decipher what the hell is happening with our real estate market. These are truly interesting times, and the direction of our markets could go either way. If you look across the nation, some markets are up and others are down. It shows just how hyper-local real estate can be. Now, there's a lot of fear out there around inflation, a surprise OPEC oil cut, a potential recession, the ongoing war in Ukraine, and of course, trying to land Taylor Swift tickets.
The tickets you have selected have been released.
The line has stopped moving. The website fully crashed. I waited in line for like 6 hours.
But real estate always boils down to supply and demand. And locally, we have two factors here that could impact that: short-term rentals and U-Haul winters. So let's examine both and how they could alter our markets. Back in September 2022, Archuleta County put a short-term rental moratorium in place. No new STRs allowed for 6 months. In March, that expired, and the commissioners voted unanimously to not extend it for 1 year and see how the free market plays out now that we're past the COVID era. So let's go back in time and see how STRs impacted our market. According to a recent study done on STRs by the town of Pagosa Springs and Root Policy, most of the STRs in Archuleta County were added between 2015 and 2019. By the end of 2019, we reached nearly 1,000 STRs, almost where we're at today. So we're gonna compare this time period with other markets. And just for fun, I'm also throwing in my previous town, the cement capital of Texas. If we look at the median price from 2015 through now, we can see that Pagosa Springs is no different than the market in general. In fact, it's slightly underperformed most metro areas. Midlothian actually blew away Pagosa. But let's look at what happened specifically with COVID, which caused city dwellers to retreat to mountain towns. As expected, Pagosa's median price outpaced these other areas, but only slightly more than Midlothian, which makes sense because Midlothian's a suburban town, city dwellers came on down. Now let's see what happened from 2015 through 2019 to get an idea if the prevalence of STRs impacted our market then more than these other markets. Well, as you can see, Pagosa Springs vastly underperformed these other markets. In fact, the median price of these metro areas grew at nearly double the pace of Pagosa's. And look at Midlothian, it dominated everyone else. Who knew the cement capital of Texas was such a great investment? Now guess how many STRs Midlothian has? 22. That's it. If STR increases valuations, then Pagosa would have outperformed these other markets, right? But they fell far short. Markets increase because of supply and demand, and STRs don't really increase demand all that much like one would think. What did increase demand is COVID and record low interest rates. Those were the real drivers behind our market valuations. Which leads to our next issue. Will a U-Haul winter increase supply and or decrease demand, which would help cause prices to fall? Which leads to the question to buyers, should you wait until the end of summer to buy? First, a U-Haul winter is a term locals use that refers to new residents who get overwhelmed from a big snow year and put their house on the market to move to a warmer climate.
Need to move? No problem. Take it yourself with U-Haul.
But I've never driven a truck before.
No problem. U-Haul lets anyone drive a giant truck, even though it's dangerous, because hey, you're moving.
Sorry, I'm making a go of it in a new city.
According to our friends over at pagosaweather.org, the snow water equivalent for the upper San Juan this year is 172% above the median peak, which basically means we had a huge winter this year. The last time Pagosa Springs experienced a winter like this was in 2019. And in 2019, new listings were down for the first 3 months of the year, probably because of all the snow. Once the snow melted, new listings took off in May and June and led to a record year for new listings and supply. Usually, we average just under 700 new listings a year, but in 2019, we managed to reach almost 800. The question now is, will the same thing happen in 2023? Because new listings are down for the first 3 months of this year, like 2019. But not by a little, but by a lot. Historically, we average about 132 new listings through March. Currently, we're at 72, which is 37% below this time of year for 2019. In fact, the previous low here was in 2013 with 106 new listings. We're 32% under that. To put that in perspective, we're on pace this year for only 386 new listings. If we follow 2019's trend line, we'll end up with 486 new listings, which is still 141 less than our previous low of 627 in 2012. Now, we've always crossed over 600 new listings for a calendar year, but this year, that's in jeopardy. And that's what's so concerning here. I don't think a U-Haul winter will have that much of an impact. I'd be hard pressed to see a flood of listings in the summer beyond what's normal. And that's because of the high interest rates we're starting to see. Interest rates more than doubled over the past year. And why would you want to trade in an interest rate under 3% for one above 7%? Some experts describe it as being a prisoner in your own house. But Pagosa is a bit different than the rest of the nation. About 65% of deals here are cash, much higher than the rest of the nation. So interest rates don't have as much of an impact here that you would think. So it's still possible a U-Haul winter could come into play and lead us to record listings this summer. But even in 2019, prices continue to rise despite the increased supply. So let's look at where demand sits currently. For Q1 2023, we're sitting at 51 sold units at this point in the year. From 2015 through 2019, we averaged around 70 units for this time of year. So we're down 27% from the pre-COVID years. What this tells us is that demand is holding up better than supply, which means that prices will likely rise over the summer if supply doesn't substantially increase. We're already kind of seeing that. Over the past 6 months, price per square foot has hovered around the 300 mark. We have stabilized, and median price has even risen to the highs of last summer. So I think you have a pretty good idea where I think prices are going this summer. It's up to you to decide if it's a good time for you to buy or sell. Everyone's situation is different, and it's not always driven by money. So we'd love the opportunity to sit down and chat with you about your circumstance. We may tell you to wait or not even buy at all. I'm absolutely proud of the fact that Team N Square doesn't exaggerate values just to get your listing or pressure you into buying something so we can get a commission check. We're honest with you every step of the way. The relationship we form doesn't end at the closing table. We value who you are as an individual and what you bring to this community. So reach out and let us know if you need any help buying or selling real estate here in Pagosa Springs. You see the job we do when it comes to providing you the data to make that decision for yourself. All right, enough data for now. The sun's out, temps are approaching the 60s, and I need to go enjoy the great outdoors here in Southwest Colorado. Till next time, cheers Pagosa.